If the opening couple game weeks haven't quite gone your way and you're looking to hit that wildcard button, then this is the ultimate video for you. And starting off our game week 4 wildcard, we have gone for Nick Pope in goal. I think this year there is the option to potentially go for the more expensive goalkeeper. It seems like we're going to have a lot of budget to kind of play with none of the kind of real premium assets in terms of Salah, KDB kind of performing or even being available for selection within the opening couple game weeks. So I definitely think there's going to be more budget to kind of utilise around the squad than we've had in previous years on this game. So starting off our team, I have gone for Nick Pope in goal. The reason I've gone for this, he is a very solid goalkeeper. Newcastle last season were a very solid defence as well. And with their kind of good long-term fixtures up until kind of game week 12, to be honest, he is a very solid option to go with in goal. The next two, Brighton and Brentford, a little bit tricky. But after that, Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham, Crystal Palace, Wolves. They also take on, I think in game week 12, if I just take a look at my notes, in game week 12, they also take on Bournemouth as well. So it's a really good kind of selection, really good run of fixtures, to be honest, for Newcastle as well. They've been quite impressive against the top teams as well in their opening kind of difficult fixture run. So I definitely think Nick Pope and the Newcastle defence are ones that you want to be targeting. With Botman as well going off injured in yesterday's game, it does make me a little bit concerned potentially going for him as an option. He was the original kind of player that I would be selecting, but we've gone with Nick Pope, as I don't think as well the 4.5 million goalkeepers are kind of living up to expectation. A lot of people own Pickford. He's not quite working. Sanchez at Chelsea is still a potential. Maybe they might go and sign another goalkeeper. A little bit of a risk around that one. We saw Jason Steele drop this weekend. It looks like Dean Henderson is going to be going to Crystal Palace, so that makes Johnson less attractive of an option. I think Flecken is kind of the only 4.5 that I would potentially be considering. But with other players that we've got in our team, I think it makes sense to go for them and stick with Nick Pope in goal. Moving into that back line, we do have Rico Henry. This is the player that I do kind of have in kind of defence over going for Flecken. Brentford's fixtures are really good. Bournemouth at home in game week 4 is a tremendous fixture as well. They're also one of the kind of best teams against top 6 sides as well. So if you are in a little bit of a tricky position, you can always play one of kind of the Brentford boys because they do extremely well against the top 6. They aren't a team as well that get battered every single week. So, you know, it's not like the worst option to have to play Rico Henry. He is arguably one of the most attacking assets as well that you can get. And with the other defenders, as you can see, 2 on the bench there and the other 2 selected within our side, he rotates extremely nicely with all of them, so you're getting the best free back 4 every single week with good fixtures as well, with this kind of set of defenders that we've got. All of them extremely cheap as well, rotate extremely nicely well with each other and have that kind of attacking potential as well. Moving on to our next defender, it is a Doji. Like I said, very similar with Rico Henry. The fixtures are great for Spurs in kind of the short and long term as well. But with all the players that we have selected, they rotate extremely well amongst that back line. I've been super impressed with Adoji, obviously picking up an assist as well against Bournemouth, kind of highlighting why he was kind of so highly thought of in terms of game week 3 transfer targets. He was the one that I was suggesting the most. Went for him over Gabriel and it paid off massively. Obviously did leave the pitch a little bit injured, so we're going to have to wait and see kind of what Postecoglou says in his press conference. It didn't look too serious. He did walk off after kind of receiving the injury, so I definitely think he should be available. Burnley as well haven't been too impressive, so I'm very happy to play him away there. Obviously as well picking up really good underlying data, randomly kind of selecting himself inside the box as well with that inverted wing-back position that he's been playing. So very impressed with his performances and Spurs over the couple opening game weeks. Now with good fixtures as well, I do think they're definitely a team you want to be looking to target in your wildcard or with your transfer targets. Moving into the back line, we do have Ben Chilwell as our final defender. I think he's the one that you want to be going for in terms of Chelsea defenders. I know Gusto picked up 2 assists against Luton on Friday night, but I don't think those are going to be long-term kind of rewards. If you looked at the expected goals involved, Chilwell was extremely well clear of Gusto as well. I know there's a huge price difference, but I just think Ben Chilwell has that little bit kind of more selectability about him, more attacking potential and clean sheet potential as well. So I definitely think he's the one that I would be going for over if I had to choose between Chilwell or Gusto. I'd always be choosing Ben Chilwell. Moving into our midfield, I have gone for Bruno Fernandes. I think he's been exceptional over the opening couple game weeks. Hasn't kind of hit the returns that we've been expecting from him, but has the highest expected points within the game so far. So massively under kind of delivering on his promise. Against Forest, a goal and assist, on penalties as well. The underlying data, he has been absolutely killing it, ladies and gentlemen. Game week 4 fixture against Arsenal isn't amazing, but I don't think Arsenal have kind of blown us away over the opening couple game weeks. Trying this new system out, and it kind of like hasn't really worked so far, to be honest. So I definitely think there's scope for Manchester United to potentially get a result away at the Emirates. But, you know, there's other good fixtures in there. Burnley, Crystal Palace, Sheffield United as well. Some really good fixtures for a player with penalties, and has been absolutely killing it on the underlying data kind of levels. So I definitely think he is due a massive haul in one of these kind of next few game weeks. So a really good player to have, and a definite recommend from me on your game week 4 wildcard. Moving on to our next player, and it is Raheem Sterling. Obviously absolutely burst onto the kind of FPL points radar this weekend with his performance against Luton. 2 goals and an assist, and that first goal was absolutely splendid, wasn't it? The way he took that was delicious. Chelsea's fixtures as well are extremely good kind of in the next 5 to 6 games, so I definitely think it is worth having a couple Chelsea players in your team. Sterling as well looks like he's got that kind of 90-minute kind of man mentality about him. Doesn't seem to be much competition for his place in that side, and if he can keep putting in performances like he did against Luton, I definitely think he is an asset that is going to be on the rise, and a very desired asset as well. Super low owned, still below 10% owned as well, so getting in on this Sterling hype train, there still is time to kind of jump on this before it becomes a huge bandwagon and his ownership's through the roof and you don't kind of get any rank gains. But at the moment, still below 10%, so definitely a player I would be looking to potentially target in my game week 4 wildcard. Moving on to our next man, and it is a player that I do have in my own team. Been a little bit frustrated by him, but the data set is kind of good. It's suggesting that he is going to potentially return at some point, with the fixtures as well being quite nice. You'd hope that is the case, and it is Eze. Now, to be honest, I know what you're thinking. This man has not delivered. He has been, you know, poor in terms of the FPL kind of perspective. No returns from him, no goals, no assists, but has had the most shots, most attempted assists. Like, it's got to be a matter of time before surely something just clicks into gear. Hopefully Elise is back in September as well, so hopefully in kind of the long-term fixtures this one might work out. He's at that price point as well, where if like when Villa's fixtures turn nice again around game week 8, game week 9, you could potentially look to switch to DRB if it quite hasn't worked out for Eze at that point. But I definitely think he's a player to be considered. Maybe not like 100% essential on your game week 4 wildcards, but a lot of top FPL kind of content creators are talking about this man, the data sets that he's putting up. It is, like I said, very similar with Bruno, only a matter of time before he does get a double-digit return. I'm putting it out there, I'm being bold, I'm being brazen, but I do agree with that. You can't keep putting up the data that he's doing and not get attacking returns. Moving on to our next midfielder, and it is a very popular asset this year, it is Bryan Mbeumo. Obviously, over the opening kind of few weeks of the season, has been very impressive on penalties as well, which is always an asset you know I absolutely love to target, ladies and gentlemen. Bournemouth at home in game week 4, and like I said with Rico Henry, the fixtures are really good, and with the other players that we have in this side, rotates extremely well. It's a really good kind of adaptable side that, you know, players can come in and out when the fixtures do suit them. With penalty takers and Brentford being a really good attacking side and defensive side this season, I definitely think you want at least 2 Brentford assets within the side, to be honest. It does look really good. Bournemouth at home, then it's Newcastle away, then it's Everton at home and Nottingham Forest, then it's United, and then it's Burnley at home. So there's a really good kind of mix of fixtures in there, and like I said, they do have a very good record against top 6 sides as well. So I wouldn't be kind of disheartened if I had to play one of my Brentford players in these fixtures, and with penalties as well, you never know what's going to happen during those time periods. Moving on to our final midfielder, and it is James Maddison, a player who has massively passed the eye test for me over the opening couple game weeks on free kicks, on corners, and is starting to click within this Spurs side. A brilliant performance for him against Bournemouth, on a lot of people's radars, and like we said with Adoji, the Spurs fixtures are extremely kind of nice, and again very similar with this side. There's lots of kind of rotatable options, but with him being such a key figurehead within that Spurs side, you do expect to be playing him every single week. But the next two are absolutely delicious for Spurs: Burnley and Sheffield United, a player that a lot of people are going to be looking to bring into their team, and only 15% owned at the time of recording as well. So there's, again, a lot of scope for rank gain there, to be honest, if you can get in on him early before kind of a lot of people jump on the bandwagon. A lot of people are potentially going to be looking to replace Matoma this week. I think this guy kind of fits that ideal as a perfect replacement. Good fixtures, on free kicks, on all the set pieces as well. So definitely an option that I would be looking to get in my own team, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Moving on to our front line, we do have Erling Haaland. I think he just has to be in your team, plus 90% owned. Obviously missed a penalty against Sheffield United, but had the highest XG of the weekend and highest non-penalty XG as well, so taking away that penalty miss from him as well. Missed quite a few good opportunities, obviously did score in the end with that back post header, but could have easily had a couple. Fulham as well have looked extremely weak over the opening couple game weeks, conceding the most expected goals over that time period. So you do think with this Manchester City kind of attack starting to purr into gear and, you know, starting to get up to full force, you definitely think this is another strong captainly case to go for Erling Haaland. Fulham at home, you expect them to do extremely well in that one. The good kind of long-term fixtures as well aren't quite there for Manchester City, but he is one of those assets that you just think, I'm just going to hold him throughout. You know, we've seen what he can do against top teams as well, so I definitely think he's an asset that you need to be having in your team because you're going to be captaining him most weeks as well. Finishing our lineup is Jackson again, another man who scored on Friday night against Luton. Didn't quite impress me though, to be honest. Wasn't a player who I would want in my side, like after watching his kind of eye test performance, because he looked a little bit donkey. Kind of the ball was bouncing off his foot, kind of a loose touch, a loose pass here. Didn't look exceptional. Obviously got his goal in the end. A little bit fortunate with the deflected cross, but again, the amount of XG this man has been kind of putting up and the lack of good quality forward options that Chelsea have at the current moment within their squad, I definitely think he's a player that you need to be having. The good fixtures are there for Chelsea. He's definitely a player that I can see getting goals, but I think he's going to be one of those assets that is going to massively frustrate you as well, because at times he looks awful, but he's getting in those right positions. All it takes is a touch or kind of a little bit of luck, and he is going to get like a good haul score, to be honest, picking up a couple of goals. But yeah, he's one of those players where I think he's going to be a bit of a troll, to be honest, across a couple of weeks, but a very good asset to have if he keeps picking up the data that he is doing. Let's have a quick run through of the bench before we wrap up in today's video. We've got Turner. I think Areola or Turner are great options, to be honest. Either one would be an exceptional 4 million goalkeeper to have on your bench. Estupinian, Brighton, fixtures. I've been getting them mixed up all video. Brighton's fixtures aren't quite there, to be honest, in kind of the long term. Newcastle, Man United, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Liverpool, City. It's not quite great, to be honest, but Estupinian just feels like one of those assets that's always got an assist or potentially an attacking return in him. And like I said, with the other defenders within this squad, does rotate extremely nicely. He's at that price point as well where if it doesn't quite work out and maybe you want to go for Trippier, there is money in the bank and that could be an option, and go for that double Newcastle defence if they are looking good over the next couple game weeks. Matty Cash as well, absolute haul from him this week. 2 goals, could have even been so much more if they'd have kept that clean sheet. But yeah, he's a player that I think has been passing the eye test, picking up good underlying data as well in the opening 2 fixtures before even getting his haul as well. So looking extremely good in that Unai Emery side, to be honest. So I'm very happy to have him as one of the potential rotation options within this side. Liverpool away, not the easiest fixture, but after that, Crystal Palace, not great. Then Chelsea, Brighton, not great. But then it's Wolves, West Ham and Luton in game week 8, 9 and 10. And that is what this wildcard's about. It's not just the next couple of weeks. It's building a team that is going to be good for the next 5, 6, 7 weeks. Building a team that's got reliable options off the bench as well to come in and out of your side as well. And then finishing up the lineup is Isak. I am a little bit concerned with his potential minutes. Obviously been coming off around 60, 65, 70 minutes over the opening couple game weeks for Callum Wilson. So definitely could see himself dropped at some point as well. But I'm kind of struggling to see what other attacker I might want within this side. Maybe it's worth going for someone like Archer, getting even more money in the bank so we can kind of make accurate decisions a little bit later. But I've gone for Isak at the moment. I think he's looked good. but he is a little bit of a minutes concern. But hopefully with the good fixtures, he can return in some of those games, even if he is still coming off in the 60th minute mark. That was my Game Week 4 wildcard draft. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. If you need any help with your team or your wildcard for Game Week 4, also let me know in the comments, as I will try and answer every single question. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your day.